Okay, thanks everybody for coming along. My name's Josh Hack from Ag Farming Systems. I'm a district agronomist around Taree as a private consultant. Go from sort of up the north coast near Dorrigo all the way down to sort of the Hunter Valley. Started my business about 2 years ago, so early days into my business. Worked for corporates before that, and then also managed farms out west near Gunnedah, etc. as well. So before that, from Tassie, so it's good we haven't got too many people in the room to do many jokes, but fly away with them if you want to. So I just got the brief to do a 10-minute talk just about drones. Look, I've been using drones pretty much since 2013. I was a pretty early adopter and started using them when I was out west and then moved to the coast. So lots changed, talking about how quickly technology changed. You buy these sorts of things for anywhere between 3 to 10 grand, and within 12 to 18 months, there's nice new flasher ones and better ones and doing different things, and we all want to get them, but you sort of got to try and get one and stick with it for a while to try and get your money back. So drones in agriculture. Look, first of all, I just wanted to give the basic sort of uses that we've used drones for over the last sort of 10 years or so. The first thing we used them for was just really as a drone, as a camera. Okay, so this is just a simple drone here. They were a lot simpler than that 10 years ago. You had to, pull them out and put wings on them and half build them before you got to use them. All these things now, they just unfold them, press a button, away they go. But we used them a lot for scouting and looking at paddocks and mapping paddocks. So really just a normal camera, would send it up and have a look across paddocks. Okay, and it'll just save us some time and a lot of walking and trying to identify what's going on. So we'd be walking around paddocks and, trying to work out where there are issues, if there's insect issues, if there's some nutrient issues or moisture issues, and then we'll try and identify what those are, and then we want to solve the problems, right? So we're trying to identify what are the issues, okay, and then we can move on to, righto, how do we solve these problems? And drones were really, really good at that at the early days, clicking off just to be able to access that. Then we've moved away from just drones in general, and now the technology in the cameras. So these two drones are pretty much identical in terms of the drone. Okay, that one's about 3 grand, and that one was 8,500. So the only difference, right, is this little knob on the top, which gives us GPS, so it gives us RTK. So at any point in time, we sort of know where that is within a centimetre. Okay, so we can then geo-reference all that information. And the other one that's on the front is we have another normal camera, but we've got another 4 cameras on the top. Now that gives us a lot of different lights, so NDVI, and pretty much sees different colours that we can't see. So the ability for that is it can start to give us, yield maps and all these maps of basically what looks green to us, that there can pick up between red and green, okay? So then we can sit there and go, right, there's a problem in that part of the paddock. We can go down and have a look at it and see what their issues are. And then we can start to even look, go down the track of soil testing. So we might say, well, we've got a bit of a red problem going on here, so we're going to start separating that part of the paddock, do some different soil testing, start trying to work out what the issues are, so then we can go into the problem-solving space, okay? Where before in the past we would have just soil tested that whole paddock and got an average. Now we're starting to be able to work out where the problem areas are and bring those problem areas up. Okay, so we really want to increase some of these problem areas up to where the higher yields and all those sorts of parts are, so we can start to increase that sort of information. So that's where we sort of started with drones. Here you can see that's just an NDVI map, like I was telling you with this drone. We just set it out, we draw a map around the paddock, takes off, flies it, comes back, downloads the data, and we get a map like this. Okay, and in this instance we've just got wet patches. Okay, so this is actually waterlogging that's caused a lot of this. Okay, so now we can actually start to look at some numbers around how much area is that getting affected. Can we invest in some drainage? Okay, so now we start to go, righto, let's invest in drainage. We know that there's going to be a problem, 1 in 5 years, 1 in 4 years, 1 in 3 years, whatever it is. And then we can start to say, righto, let's try and increase the rest of that paddock, because it's all about trying to get the right return on every acre or hectare that you've got in your system. Where's it moved to now? So that's what we sort of use drones for a lot of the time. The biggest gain in the last 12 months has been the ability for these drones now to lift lots of weight. Okay, so these drones here now can lift 40 to 50 kilos. Okay, so these drones here, we can spread fertilizers, we can spread seed, we can spray. Okay, so now there's even OH&S benefits because now we don't have big heavy gear tractors and all that sort of stuff on sides of the hill, worrying about rolling, all that sort of stuff. We can actually get up into all those little hilly bits, gets a lot of those invasive weeds and all that sort of stuff under control. Okay, and utilise these bits of gear. We can actually use this sort of drone, right, to go and map the whole farm or those areas. And this here, with the technology of where it is, picks out all the trees and all the issues. Okay, we download that to this drone. Okay, and when he takes off to spread or spray, it knows where those trees are, goes around them, all that sort of stuff. And there is some technology out there, and I think this is the next step, talking about, we always want to be talking about that next step, where we're going. We could actually start to use this sort of technology, okay, like this, okay, to recognise different plants. So now we can actually sit there and say, right, we can tell the difference in colour between a crop plant and a weed plant, okay, or bush thorn and all those sorts of things. Download that data to the spray drone, and it flies out and knows exactly from a GPS point of view where to go do that, sprays it without hurting any of the crop. Okay, it's a lot more targeted, automatic, and automation, and that's where we're going with it. Just around here at Taree, so last 2 years with a lot of the flooding and the wet conditions, okay, lots of paddocks ended up getting their pastures planted with drones. Okay, in the past we used helicopters a lot, but that's sort of switching now to the drone technology, because they are able to lift those heavier weights. Okay, so they're moving ahead. That's one there that's spraying some paddocks. Again, you can fly it manually, or you can actually set it up on a path and it'll go and fly paddocks automatically. Comes back, all you're doing is filling it up, putting it back in, pressing a button, takes off again, and away it goes. So pretty cool technology, and it's gone a long way in the last. There's a guy that I know who's got a drone business now. He's from up at Noundock, and he's pretty much got a full-time drone business with sort of 6 or 8 blokes, and he's got about 10, 12 drones working full-time, and he's only started that up in the last sort of couple of years. So it's pretty amazing where the technology's going. You look at this sort of drone here, it's going to cost you around sort of 40 to 50 grand for the drone. Plus you need some batteries, be another 5 grand each for those, and all that sort of stuff. But you might be looking at 60, 70, 80 grand for a setup. Plus you need to buy a generator to try and pump it all up and get the energy when you're out in the paddocks, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you go and buy a tractor and a spray rig and all that, you're probably looking at 150,000 anyway. Okay, so the cost of it isn't prohibitive out there, especially if they can get across the acres and the hectares as well. I'm just going to take a little tack to the left, because technology is really cool stuff, but drones is one thing. We're learning a lot more too around, because I do a lot of farm management stuff and decision making, solving problems, all those sorts of things. And automation is key. That's what we want to try to get to, because every time we ask a farmer to try and do something, they're always too busy and they don't have the time. And there's only so much time in a day, and we can't keep on asking, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that. We've got to try and work out automation systems so that we can get that information in front of the farmer so they can make better decisions. So one of the ways of doing that is we have some it's hard to see, isn't it? Okay, so this is a program which is called Pasture.io. I'm using it as part of a project with Sydney University with 5 farms up here on the mid-coast. Okay, so every farm can subscribe to this sort of thing. They have a live farm map, okay, of what their farm looks like at any time point. They can collect data, so they're just as quickly as, this is touchscreen, isn't it? All right, might be able to click on a paddock. So you can just click on a paddock. I don't use this on the computer at all. I only ever use it in my phone, my pocket. So it's always when you're in a paddock, you've always got that information all at your hands now. So we can select the paddock, we can put information in about whether we're fertilised, whether we sprayed it, start collecting data, all that sort of stuff of what we've done. Okay, so that's really cool. The other thing we've got going on now is This works with satellites. Okay, so this technology that Pasture I have come up with. Okay, you can look at your overlay. And we go NDVI. So you know I was telling you about NDVI with this camera. Okay, well there's satellites in the sky that have all that technology as well. And I don't know if this will work. Maybe. There we go. So that's an NDVI of that farm. Okay, from satellites. So instantly we're getting a yield. Okay, so if we put that, see all the yellows, probably just been grazed and less feed. As it goes darker blue, we've got more feed in those paddocks. Okay, so instantly we've got a feed wedge. So now we know which paddock's got the most feed, which got the least feed. We know which paddock's being grazed. And the good thing about that now, so these guys have come up with some technology with some GPSs. We put on just 3 cows, so there's 600 cows in that herd. Just 3 of them have got a GPS on a collar. Okay, every time the cows go in that paddock, it talks to this machine and says, righto, that paddock's been grazed. So we don't even need to put it in anymore. Because we found, trying to get farmers to say, oh, I've got to go on the computer, tell it that it's been grazed. It's real difficult. These guys have come up with a way to automate that system so it knows when it's grazed, puts it back down the bottom of the curve, and then when it gets back up here, we know how quick it's growing. So then we now get our growth rates. So we can start to forward plan how much feed we got, all that sort of stuff. If we go in here, tracking herds, so you can do it with tractors, whatever you want. You track anything that you want to put in it. And we'll go back to the map. Yep. So that's the cows there. So that's where the cows are. That's the paddock they're in. Okay, and those hot spots is every half an hour it takes a reading. It tells you where they've been in that paddock. Okay, so the good thing about that now, we start to track, how many times they've been in that paddock. We can start doing yields off it and all that sort of stuff. So for farmers, the ability to be able to have some of this dashboard stuff with information and data for decision making, like the next stuff's going to be the AI that can then start to use this data with weather data, with predictions and current, what's going to potential happening to say whether, you're going to have potential feed surplus, less, start to tell you that you're overgrazing, undergrazing, so you're making better decisions going forward. So that's just a little look into some tech in ag. Hopefully you enjoyed. Any questions, let me know.